Actually, let me see. I can probably show you a little bit what you're expecting. Okay. And I wanted to start with this monument here. Actually, we're in Uthina. Let me give you a little bit of information about the area 1800 years ago. So, uh, I'm starting here with this building. As you can see, lots of mosaics in here. These are actually, you can probably take a screenshot of the text. These are small private baths, and the baths were named actually after those mosaics. After those mosaics. Yeah. Angels, cherubs, cupids, but winged ones. And I want to show you now where those mosaics are within these baths, which we cannot really get through. But if I could, in the reception bad. Oh, I have 5 out of 5 here. You might probably see your device. Thank you, Allison. Thank you. So the baths were named after those mosaics that you can see. Let me get them back, zooming out so that you can see the whole structure. Okay, see? They're a little bit far from here. Right. And actually, here is a street. Here is a street. So this is the limit, the end of the baths, and the street goes on, even below the dirt. Even below the dirt. Yes. Thank you, Penny, for the advice. Can you see those here? So the people who lived here in the 2nd century, say by Trajan's, and but especially by Hadrian's time or Anthony's time, and even Septimus Severus' time, they were very wealthy people, landlords. Look at the latrines. Look at the latrines. These are part of the baths, and as you can see, they're right at the very edge of the bath, so that all the waste, would go to the sewer, which is underneath the paved street. Underneath the paved street. So I'm showing you these baths. Archaeologists knew about them for a long time, since probably the early 60s. But they were excavated and unearthed, and I'm saying unearthed, They were unearthed some 10, 12 years ago. I remember me myself starting as a guide here some paths, and I want to take you also to the mansion, to the domus, as we call it, to the domus of the proprietor, of the owner of these baths. These are private baths in a very luxurious, very residential neighborhood. And you can see how much the archaeologists carried all these excavations and how much dirt they took up. You see, that's actually the height. So everything in here was buried. Right. Okay. So Uthina, Uthina, or Udna nowadays, in its heyday, let's say by end of the reign of Septimus Severus and the era of Caracalla and Severus Alexander, we're talking end of 2nd, early 3rd century, there were probably between 20 and 25,000 people living in this little town. So it was big. I mean, big in the countryside. So surrounded by fertile, lush land. Agriculture is the main income source here. Quarries too. And I'll talk about the quarries later. All right. And you see, so this is another angle for the baths. Some sheep grazing. I don't see. Oh, look at the little one. Sheep, but I don't see the goats. Now, just a little detail. Can you see those arches up above? You won't believe it. We're going there too. That's the amphitheater of Uthina that had been unearthed some 28 years ago. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, few goats. I can see few goats. Can you see them? All right. Oh, you can even see right here, we're still in the baths, the coating, the revetment of the walls with marble. The revetment of the walls with marble. Now, the proprietor, the owner of these baths, lived just next door, or made his baths being built next door to his home, and he lived in a house that was probably about 3,000 square meters, which is all of this you can see here. We call it the House of Laberius. The House of Laberius. He was a very well-to-do Uthinansi, and I'm gonna play a little bit closer with my camera to show you what was left here. Some mosaics, but they were actually taken away to protect them at the museum, at the Bardo Museum. And this is a replica of a Bacchic procession. Bacchic or Dionysus. Yes. Hi, Ivy and Ray. Thank you for joining us. So we can see this is a replica. The original one is in the famous National Museum of the Bardo. Plus, we've got a hunting scene right in the main entrance of this room. Actually, if you look at the room from left to right, this was the triclinium, folks. This was the dining room, and we can see lots of these cherubs, winged cherubs, harvesting, picking the grapes, different colors, knowing that this is still a replica. And we have the main motif, the emblem, we call it in Latin emblema, showing Dionysus. Dionysus actually with a jug or a pitcher is right there. Yeah. So we got this mosaic, and around the mosaic, from where I am right now, on three sides, 1, 2, and 3. That's where the reclining couches would be set with the tables. And we call it triclinium because of three. Clinium comes from the Greek word of the reclining couch called klinos. Look at this crater, or cantharus, the tree of life coming out of the crater. Peacocks and swans here. See, chasing the swan, playing, dancing over here. A peacock, a duck, and more cherubs and cupids, winged cupids, picking and harvesting grapes, and another crater. This is, folks, a replica. So how about? I mean, the original one is beautifully preserved. That's why they preserved it actually in the Bardo Museum. And by the way, look, right here in front of us, all this area was what we call the atrium. In the old Roman and the patrician houses in Rome, you would have called it actually the atrium. It's an impluvium atrium, and where I am would be covered. That part right in front of you would be open air to collect rainwater. No big table governing, So, and of course, where we are, this passageway would be covered with arches and columns. Oh, another mosaic in another room that was replicated. The original one is at the Bardo Museum, and we can see some of the countryside work, a journey through daily life in the countryside, even trapping birds. See this guy? He's trapping birds in the trap right there. Can you guess what kind of birds are these? All right. Yeah, okay. There, I'm zooming out. Carol is asking. Good. No, not quail, Violetta. A little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. Could be by the size of a duck, but these are not ducks. Partridges. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you. These are partridges. And here, it's chasing and hunting the boar with a greyhound and 2 hunters. And I can see even this guy milking the goat. And this guy is playing the flute. And this guy here is trying actually to trap a bird. Can you see the bird above the tree? And he has a stick with some glue so that he can glue the bird. The bird might probably get confused, diverted, and probably would think that the stick is one of the branches, would set foot on it and would get stuck. And that kind of hunt is still allowed in many other parts. Yeah, but I know it's cruel with our concept today. I mean, people are more aware of keeping, a kind of harmony and balance with Mother Nature, and we're part of this world. I mean, human beings and animals. Okay. Okay, Fiona is asking, is there a kind of hunting that isn't cruel? You can probably answer or just think that we do mostly agree. I mean, it can be cruel, of course, but that's life. Food. All right. Now, I'm thinking of taking you, before we go into the temple, I'm taking you to the amphitheater right in front of us, because later I'll be walking uphill to the temple. After the amphitheater, I'll show you the big temple, and I'll show you the big cistern. A city like this cannot be just prosperous because of food or agriculture. It's because also it gets a lot of rain, and it has actually spring water running everywhere. Let me show you this. Look at this one. And you can't believe it. I mean, this one, like 28 years ago, was all covered and buried. Look at this one. I'm just, Yes, Cindy, the Bardo Museum is closed, not because of COVID. It's a political, presidential decision, actually, issue. The President Said froze the whole activity of the Parliament on July 25th last year, and closing the Bardo is a kind of collateral damage, because the main gate of the Bardo Museum is the same as for the Parliament. So they argued, pretending that for security measures they can't open the Bardo till a new Parliament is appointed or is elected. Assalamu alaikum. Ahla, شنو أحوالك؟ لباسة. And here we are. See? I mean, imagine this one, all the arcades. I mean, this one and on the other side, I'll show it to you, was really all set. I mean, complete. And this kind of amphitheater is what we call a dugout amphitheater. I'll let you know why. I'm walking up the hill to get to the amphitheater. That was, all buried, yes. Big job. I mean, many teams, many commissions, teams, archaeologists, geologists, historians, everybody worked here. You see, when you're here, you can look back left and you see the monumental temple where we'll go later. Here we are. And I want you to take a deep breath. Luckily today there is not that much wind. Last Friday, I was here. It was so windy that I had to wear, by myself, I had to wear a mask and put the mic under my mask close to my mouth. Yeah. Yes, Cindy, they all contributed to the excavations here. Now, are you ready? Close your eyes, take a deep breath. All right. This is as if we were here coming in to sit in the cavea and watch the game. Look at this. How about this? Look the arena. Wow. Let me. Wow. Wow. I'm walking down here. You might see me. This whole area, the whole area here would fit in probably about 15 to 20,000. 15 to 20,000 people sitting in here. Some 28 years ago, all of this had been buried. Now, what is the time frame for the construction of such a beautiful structure, actually? Innovative. This was actually built around mid-3rd century AD. When you compare that the first most famous Colosseum, which is the Flavian Colosseum in Rome, was built around 72, 73 AD. This one was probably about 234 to 36, 3rd century AD. But the difference is, first of all, the Colosseum in Rome is circular, round, whereas this one and more of this kind of structure here in Tunisia are elliptical. So you can see them here. Aren't you amazed? Isn't this magnificent? Carol, Cindy, Paula, Ivy. Look, all of this had been buried. All of this had been covered with dirt along, the 20, probably 1800 years. Now, look at the arena. Do we know what's the origin, the etymological word for arena? Why do we call this huge game area arena? Thank you, Ivy. Thank you, Ivy and Ray, for your kindness. Thank you. No, okay. Arena comes from a Latin word. It's really a Latin word for sand. Sand. And because this area, the game area, was all filled with sand, that's why they call it arena. Now look at the 6 squares, 7 of them actually. There are 3 and 3 and 1, and a big spine. Sand, yes, Carol, yeah, you heard it well. Sand, yeah, arena, la arena in Latin. So those holes, these are used for lifting up the cages of the wild cats. And the big spine would be uncovered just before the game starts. And there would be, actually, when a big cat is killed, they throw it through that spine down below and they get it. And there are also cages of more animals, so the animals would be underneath it. There is a whole structure underneath the arena. I can unfortunately not go there because we will lose signal. Sand dries up, yes, the blood of killed animals. True, Loretta. Look what happens, in the bullfight. whether in Central America or Spain. Okay, so just bear in mind that the time frame of this building was about 3rd century, 234, around 234. The city needed a big entertainment area, and there were about probably 20 to 25,000. So, sorry. Okay. Now we're going on the other side. Right, okay. If you want me just to stop for more seconds, I mean a few more seconds, you can take probably, let me just adjust framing it, a screenshot of this. Look at this. So people would be sitting in here, and actually the gladiators, I didn't talk about the gladiators, I should have. You would attend gladiatorial combats here. You would attend the professional hunt, wildcats, animals, bush, a kind of staging it, hunters, or the gladiators play against each other. And before they get in here, they would say, Ave, Ave Caesar, or Ave Caesar, I morituri te salutant. May Caesar live, those who are about to die salute you. All right. Look at this from the other side. Beautiful, isn't it? All right. Let's walk out of the amphitheater. Look at this. Isn't this a beautiful picture? Now you look at those blocks, we call them ashlar blocks. They are cut in a way they make the whole circle of the arch. But there is one that is very important, the one right in the middle, which is called the keystone. So every single stone would be put there by pressure. There is no mortar. They should, like you just see them here, they have been rebuilt. I mean, luckily, the archaeologists found most of the material buried, so they could reuse it. Not repurpose it, but reuse it in place. And this is one of the most interesting arches you can see rebuilt or repurposed, recycled here. Now, you certainly have more questions while walking through this old Roman town in Tunisia called Uthina. You might probably wonder, were the Romans numerous? Were there large numbers of them living here in Tunisia? Or were there any populations living before the Romans came? Of course, this land was already inhabited before the Romans came. And the indigenous populations that lived in here, called Numidians, Numidian, translates to Berbers nowadays. That's the term we use for most of the Numidian tribes living in North Africa, not only in Tunisia, but in Libya, in Algeria, and in Morocco. So when the Romans came after the Third Punic War, 146 BC, when Octavian Augustus Octavian Augustus took over, he sent mercenaries scouting this land, getting more of update about the real status of Carthage mostly. And then they started colonizing. The veterans I talked about at the very beginning of our tour, who were soldiers actually retiring, they were given land here to colonize. That's the etymology of the word colonize, to bring new families, marry women from the indigenous population, and have land under what they used to call the Pax Romana, and it's a way of life, a Latin way of life mixed with North African traditions. We're in North Africa. The Mediterranean separates North Africa from Italy, especially from Sicily. So the Romans, especially the Romans living in the metropolis in Rome, were slightly different from the Sicilians, who were islanders, and they were probably much more closer to the North Africans rather than to the Septentrionali, to the northern Romans. All right. So far, we're good. It's not raining, and the wind stopped, and I'm walking, panting a little bit, but that's okay. You must have seen me. I mean, driving in a kind of zoo, traffic congested, cabs and all. I mean, even the traffic lights stopped working, or probably people did not even stop at. Anyway, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I've traveled for over an hour from home, and I'm in Tunis. So, good. All right. This is one of the best sites in Tunisia because the shepherds and the people live around it. And the shepherds have the right to bring their sheep and the cattle. You can see a few cows, more sheep, and even look at the goats. Look at the goats. Let me zoom in. They're on top of the walls. Look at them. Sheep won't do that. Sheep are always scared. And look now, this is where we're going. How about this one here? Take a picture of this, because when we get there, there will be no panoramic view of the temple. So take advantage and do this. Take a picture, screenshot. Okay, I'm moving. All right. So let's see, between the temple and the amphitheater, I can see a little bit of the arches. All of this area was actually filled in, constructed, built. There were neighborhoods, houses. So you have to imagine. But I'm going to show you a modern depiction of the city of Uthina, how one of the architects imagined it based on archives and data about here. All right. Any questions, folks? So we've seen private baths of the angels, the winged, fishing winged angels. And we've seen the house of Laberius, actually the proprietor, the owner of the baths. And we've seen the amphitheater. And now we're going to the whole complex of the temple, because there is more than the temple right on top of the hill. And I'll show you a public cistern too. Do they milk the sheep or only wool and meat? They do. Oh yes, Alan. They do milk the sheep, milk the goat and the sheep, and of course use the wool and also meat. Yeah, Tunisians like very much lamb and fish. Lamb and fish. They don't eat that much lamb because it's awfully expensive today, so we substitute it with chicken, turkey. See, much cheaper and different. All right. Okay. It's sandy here. Did you see the sand? Dirt, sand, dirt road. I have no other choice, folks. I'll let you know later how many steps we did. I'm doing. We're getting there. We're getting close. Now, general data. Olive trees. Yes, Cindy. All of these are olive trees. A little kind of olive grove. They're not too old. All of these are probably a few decades. Probably 70, 80 years for the older ones. This one, like here, is probably 40 years. We know it by the trunk, the bark, of course. So, Carthage had 6 colonies, 6 big colonies, among them Carthage. And Carthage was actually the 3rd colony to be conquered by the Romans. After Spain was the first one, the Iberic Peninsula, then Sicily, that the Romans actually took from the Carthaginians, and then Carthage after the 3 Punic Wars. Look at this. Wow. You know why? I forgot even to get my bottle of water. But anyway, I will survive. The tower you see is more of modern type. There's a story behind it. The whole land here was bought by a couple of French during the French colonization. They were actually landlords, and they established themselves on top of the hill, actually on top of the temple, and they built also this room and this tower for them. But behind the wall, behind this wall here, lays the main cistern of the city, which I'll show you in a little bit later. For the time being, let me just pause and take a deep breath. All right. You see those 2 barns? They were built during the French time by the couple. They had cattle, they had hay, they had a lot of land around here. What interests us today is also the maps and some information precisely about Uthina or Udna. And I'm going to start with the map. the map of Tunisia to locate as a locator of where Uthina is. This is not a complete map of Tunisia, it's 2/3 of the map. What interests us is this one here. You see this tip here called El Hawariya, Kirkwan? It's about 6 hours sailing from Agrigento in Sicily. But Carthage is in the bay. You see Carthage, Tunis, Bordeaux, and look at the red line taking us to Uthina. See that one? I'm stopping for a few seconds if you want to take a screenshot. And of course there are more cities and towns and archaeological sites all over the country, even in the desert. What is interesting for us today is this. This is, let me see if I can make it. No, but this is it. This is the depiction made by Jean-Claude Golvin. You can see his name on the bottom left, J.C. Golvin. And he shows the amphitheater. He shows actually right in here the main temple where we are now. These are the old public baths, only rubble and boulders. I'll show it to you from far. And the city around it, and also the agricultural area, the countryside. All right, now I told you about the water. I told you about cistern, and there is a big aqueduct actually. We're here in Uthina. See, this is the itinerary of the aqueduct that supplied Uthina with water from the mountains of Zika, which I'll be showing you once we'll be on top of them, of the temple. Look at this beautiful depiction from Jean-Claude Golvin, the same guy, of the amphitheater, and a depiction of the temple dedicated to Jupiter, Juno, Minerva, the big one in the middle to Jupiter, flanked by two smaller ones, one for Juno, one for Minerva, translates to Zeus, Hera, and Uthina in the Greek mythology. All right, this is the plan of the city. We started actually with 2 and 3, the baths, 2, 3, and 4 actually, the baths and Laberius. We went to the amphitheater, and then we took our path going to right here, the temple. Number 7 is the cistern, and number 10 are the public baths. I'll show them to you. And number 11 is the theater, and I'll show it to you. All right. Is everything okay? Are we following and being interested, folks? Okay, want to go up? Thank you. Okay, let's go up. I bet you can even hear my steps. We're walking up the podium, and we're not reaching the main chamber yet, which does not exist anymore, but at least the space in the area. Look. There were 6 big columns like this one. 6 of them. That's why the temple is called a hexastyle temple. These are rebuilt based on what was left, with drums, plaster. Hello, folks. It's a bit windy. I'm gonna protect and hide my microphone. I'll try to stop in various angles so that you can get a whole picture of the surrounding area to the city. Look at this. Luckily, I brought with me a tripod so that I can also see it. Ah, good. 2 seconds. All right, so you can see the mountain to the left appearing from far. That's the mountain of Zika, where the aqueduct started, bringing water here. Then let's see. Then you can see all these olive groves. And beyond the olive groves, the green spots, we have an ochre yellowish spots behind it. That's wheat and barley. Wheat and barley. Then we have these. Look. Hello, Jill. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Rishi. Thanks for joining us. Were the columns originally covered by or made of marble? Not necessarily. These columns were made of limestone. Limestone as the very last one. You can see the last one. Those are drums. You put one on top of the other, and they were made of limestone. But of course, there are also marble columns at the amphitheater, at the theater, in the baths. Right. Let me get closer. Oh, now we can see even the amphitheater from here, folks. Can you see it? Can you see the arches? Or should I probably zoom in? Yeah, see it? That's the amphitheater where we were, folks. And I'm going to show you also the baths where we were. They're right here. Those are the baths of the fishing winged angels. Good. Let's do this. All right. Now, can you hear me well, or is it too windy? Now, look ahead of you. Look at the mountain ahead of you. Right on the foot, the hill foot of the mountain, I can see an ochre ridge. I'm gonna zoom it in. You see the ridge? Those are the quarries that the people here exploited and carved, actually extracted the limestone from there to build a big part of this town. Now, if we were living here, where we are right now would be the Cella, C-E-L-L-A, or the chamber dedicated to Jupiter, flanked by, as I said, 2 smaller temples, one dedicated to Juno and one to Minerva. Look at this. Now we still have about 15 more minutes, max. 15, yeah. So I want to do two main stops now. One inside the temple, because we're really in the open air area now. But I want to show you something incredible inside the temple, so that you can have a better sense of the size of the building. And then I'll take you to the cistern. But of course, we won't be covering the whole city. It's unbelievably big. There are more than 75 hectares in acres, so times 3 point something. So it's a big city, a fair size of a city, let's say. And for about 25,000 people living inside the city. So a quick stop here. They call it the capital, but I call it the Capitoline Temple. Hi, Uthina. See? It's 43 meters times 27. Yeah. And this is the house that was on top of the temple of the French couple. Let's walk inside the temple. So in Tunisia, folks, there's a whole melting pot of indigenous populations, North Africans. They're not necessarily black, but they can be of a kind of darker skin, curly hair, let's say, anthropologically speaking, but also Mediterranean people coming from the islands, from Crete, from Santorini, from Cyprus, from Malta, from Sicily, from Corsica, from Sardinia, and many other islands and countries. So that made really the richness and the variety of the Tunisian population today, even from Turkey and Greece. Right. Now I want you to take a deep breath. See where we were? Look, we were right there. We got here down, let's say a level under the main chamber of Jupiter. We're going inside. This space here was used by the priests for their daily life, working and preaching and praying here. And you can see how beautiful the arches are, the barrel vaulted ceilings with an Egyptian style frieze. I'm getting closer to the frieze in here. And these blocks, folks, look at these blocks, how big they are. Can you tell why we have those holes in those blocks? Yes, amazing, Marie. Amazing. We see lots of holes. And of course, all of this had been reconstructed, maintained. To attach, yes, Vaiona, yes, to attach the veneer and also for the coating. Yeah, that's what it is. No, not for the torches. There might be something else, but most of the holes, as you can see, look ahead of you, right in front of you. Each ashlar block has a hole, and that's for the revetment of the wall after the plaster. I mean, to coat it with marble. So you must imagine this whole temple, which is a gigantic temple, was coated from inside with marble, and mostly also with the frescoes, plaster, and it had also a basement. You want to see it? Take a deep breath. This is an appetizer to what's coming next. Ooh. That's the basement, folks. And the basement was used as a storage for grains, for crops, for tough times like wars. Plus the level upstairs where the temple is, plus the column. So you can imagine you imagine study started before 20 years ago, but this excavations lasted for probably 12 or 13 years. I remember when I started, I mean, coming here, early 80s, they were still, early 80s, yes, they did not even start the excavations. So I'm telling you, that started in the early, so 22, yeah, in the very early 1990s. Yes, yes, Cindy, the stones were covered mostly with marble. No, it was, yeah, you said it's stolen. I would say, yes, stolen, picked, repurposed, recycled somewhere in homes or probably. But also, this is probably a good information for you. You use it in many other cities. When the Byzantines took over, they recycled most of the material. So all of these statues, Jupiter, Juno, Dionysus, Mercury, Mars, whatever, didn't mean anything to them. So the whole marble they could get from the statues, from the columns, from the wall revetment, they would burn them in kilns to make lime. They were repurposed and used as lime for construction. All right. Are you still interested for another probably 5-10 more minutes? Because we have to go and see the sister, guys. Oh, thank you, Ivy. Good. Of course, just a reminder, tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a better day, better sunny day, unlike today. Tomorrow we're going to visit the majestic, humongous Roman baths of Antonine and Hadrian. I'm pronouncing the two names, Hadrian and Antonine. I'll tell you tomorrow why we use the two names. And tomorrow we will start at 3 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum. Tomorrow we'll start at 3 o'clock in Carthage. Hopefully you can make it and join me, because there will be a very interesting tour in the baths for about 45 minutes. Thank you, Fiona. Thank you, Cindy. Okay. Now let me just show you once again the temple from here. Beautifully preserved. and we're going to the cistern. Each city, each little town during the Roman time, or during the Pax Romana time, let's say from the 2nd to the 5th century, over 300 years, most of these cities were very wealthy cities, having baths, theaters, amphitheaters, Odeon, circuses, and cisterns, aqueducts too. So you can see how the Romans enriched, developed, made it more elaborate about the building constructions taken from ancient civilizations too. They were not really the ones who brought the novelty in itself, but what they made, actually, they contributed to a better development of the same techniques. And of course, the engineering. Okay, it's a little bit windy here. I'm gonna put my hood. How about this right now? Oh, thank you, Deborah. Thank you very much for your kindness. Thank you. Hi. Oh, ciao, Elisabetta. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Rose. Hi, Duke. And here we are. This is the main cistern of the town. There are other relays actually down below, but this is the main one. And it has actually 3 barrel vaulted cisterns, one next to the other. The pillars separate the cisterns, but all of it collapsed. And there would be different channels coming down below, underground actually. First of all, to these public baths. Can you see where the rubble is? The boulders. Let me just sit. All right. Let me zoom in so that you can get it. See the boulders? They're working on them. They're still working. Work in progress inside the baths. But we cannot go there because it's not secure. But you can see on top of the rubble, those huge big boulders. Those are actually ceilings and pillars. And again, we can see the ridge for the extraction of the quarries, the limestone, and the mountain. There are 2 mountains actually, the one on the right and the one on the left, right there. And all of this range is the very last tip of the Atlas range of mountains that starts at the Atlantic in Morocco, crossing Algeria and Tunisia. Oh, you're most welcome, Fiona. Thank you very much for attending this tour. Let me see. Okay. See where I am? I'm wearing my hood. Good. Folks, this is it. We've covered the whole hour. Thank you for your patience, for being really patient with me and waiting for me. I really drove fast at the very last 5 kilometers. I had to be here. Luckily I got nothing. So thank you very much, Deborah, Cindy, Marie. Who else? I could not really remember all the names, but I can see them in the chat. Hi, Rose. Okay, thank you very much, all of you. You're so kind, and hopefully tomorrow you can come and join me. That will be actually the last tour for this month, and I think I'm gonna come back on tour with new programs by end of May. As the whole the whole month of May, I'll be busy with in-person tours. We got lots of people coming, especially just an information for you. The Stanford Alumni Association is sending, for the first time ever in Tunisia, a group of alumni, and I was honored, and I'm honored to lead the tour here in Tunisia. Thank you all Thank you, Carol. Yeah, very enjoyable for me too, having all this interaction with all of you. Thank you, Catherine, Elena. Thank you, Margaret, for your kindness. Wonderful, wonderful. I don't ever know where to look at. I think when I look at the camera right there, you can see me. Otherwise, I'm just reading the chat. Thank you, ma'asalama, and have a wonderful weekend. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow in Carthage. Bye-bye.